Welcome back to Learn and Talk English.
It's great to be here.
As promised, we're diving into some fascinating topics.
Yeah.
And we're going to pick up some useful vocabulary and phrases along the way to help boost your English skills.
Sounds good.
Today's deep dive tackles a really tough issue
Okay.
facing major American cities.
All right.
Homelessness.
Right.
We'll be dissecting a Discovery Quest YouTube video
Okay.
that reveals the harsh realities of life
Interesting.
without stable housing.
Yeah.
And, of course, we'll be highlighting key English vocabulary and phrases along the way.
Makes sense.
So,
It's a heavy topic.
yeah, it is.
But, being able to discuss these complex social issues like homelessness is crucial for fluency in English.
Absolutely.
And the video really brings it home
Yeah.
by showing the stark contrast between America's image as a land of opportunity and the reality of thousands of people struggling just to survive on the streets.
It's eye-opening, for sure. The video even takes us to the storm drains beneath Las Vegas,
Wow.
where over 1,000 people are living.
I can't imagine that.
Can you imagine? Battling addiction, scavenging for food, facing flash floods.
That's intense.
It's a far cry from the glitz and glamour we usually associate with Vegas.
Yeah, a far cry indeed.
So this video takes us on a journey
Okay.
through the 15 American cities
Wow.
with the highest homeless populations,
All right.
revealing a truly diverse
Yeah.
and often heartbreaking picture of this crisis.
That's a big problem.
So let's jump right in.
Okay, let's do it.
Starting with New York City.
Okay.
It might be the city of dreams,
Right.
but it also has the unfortunate distinction of having the highest homeless population in the country,
Wow.
over 80,000 people.
That's a lot.
The video points to the sky-high cost of housing
Makes sense.
and a recent wave of immigrants as major factors.
Interesting.
What's interesting is
Right.
New York City is legally obligated to provide shelter,
I didn't know.
but the sheer number of people needing help is completely overwhelming the system.
Oh, wow.
They've tried setting up temporary housing,
Okay.
but it's just not enough. People are literally sleeping on the streets,
Wow.
outside intake centers, desperate for a place to stay.
Really?
The video shows images of people huddled outside the Roosevelt Hotel,
I see.
and it's truly a powerful visual.
I bet.
Speaking of being overwhelmed by an influx of new residents,
Okay.
our next stop is Los Angeles,
All right.
clocking in at number 14 on the list with nearly 75,000 people
Wow.
experiencing homelessness.
Okay.
Los Angeles is another example
Okay.
of how homelessness can exist,
Right.
even in cities known for wealth and glamour.
Yeah, that's true.
And what struck me is that despite the city's efforts, the homeless population has actually increased by 12% in recent years.
That's a shame.
Clearly, this issue is deeply rooted and resistant to simple solutions.
Yeah.
It really highlights the complexities of this issue. The video also talks about Skid Row,
Okay.
a notorious area
Right.
with a huge concentration of homeless people.
Yeah, I've heard of Skid Row.
You've got extreme wealth in Beverly Hills just a few miles away.
Right.
Yet Skid Row paints a completely different picture of the city.
For sure.
It's a juxtaposition
Right.
we see in many cities across the U.S.
Yeah.
This stark contrast between affluence and despair.
That's a good way to put it.
And speaking of stark contrasts, let's move on to Seattle,
Okay.
number 13 on the list,
All right.
where booming tech giants
So
like Microsoft and Amazon
right?
coexist with a growing homeless population.
Interesting.
Seattle's story is fascinating because the video introduces us to the jungle,
Oh, wow.
a dangerous makeshift encampment under a highway.
I see.
One resident, Kara Bernstein,
Okay.
actually found a sense of community there
Really?
that she couldn't find elsewhere.
That's interesting.
It's a reminder that makeshift solutions
Right.
created out of necessity
Yeah.
often become a lifeline for those who feel excluded from mainstream society.
I can see that.
It speaks to the resilience and resourcefulness of people experiencing homelessness,
Yeah.
even in the face of such adversity.
It's amazing how people adapt.
Absolutely. From the
So-
makeshift community of the jungle
Right.
to the harsh realities of constant displacement.
Okay.
Let's head south to San Diego, California,
Right.
number 12 on our list.
Okay.
Picture this beautiful beaches,
Nice.
sunny weather,
Yeah.
and over 10,000 people without homes.
That's a lot.
The irony is stark,
Yeah.
and it highlights how, even in a seemingly idyllic place, the issue of homelessness persists.
It's everywhere.
The city's popularity with tourists and retirees
Right.
has driven up housing costs,
Makes sense.
making it impossible for many longtime residents to afford to stay.
That's too bad.
The video introduces us to Tracy Bennett,
Okay.
who's been homeless for 7 years.
Wow.
She talks about how the city's constant sidewalk cleanups force her to keep moving her tent and belongings.
I see.
It's like they're just shuffling the problem around instead of actually addressing the root causes.
It's not a real solution.
Her experience underscores the ineffectiveness of superficial solutions.
For sure.
Simply displacing people without providing real support does nothing to address the underlying issues.
Right.
And speaking of cities struggling to effectively address homelessness,
Yeah.
let's turn our attention to Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
our nation's capital at number 11.
Right.
You'd think the seat of government would have a better handle on this,
You'd think so.
but over 4,900 people are living on the streets there.
Really?
And what's really alarming is the rise in homeless seniors.
That's sad.
The video mentions people in their 70s and 80s,
Wow.
some even over 90,
Oh, no.
without a place to call home.
That's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is.
It really raises questions about the adequacy of our social safety nets,
Absolutely.
especially for vulnerable populations.
Yeah.
But amidst the challenges,
Yeah. Okay.
there's a glimmer of hope.
What's that?
D.C. has actually seen the fastest decline in its homeless population
Really?
compared to other cities on this list.
That's good news.
So while the situation remains difficult,
Yeah.
some progress is being made.
That's encouraging.
That's encouraging to
It
hear.
is.
Let's shift gears now and head to San Francisco,
Okay.
California,
All right.
number 10 on the list.
Okay.
It's iconic for the Golden Gate Bridge
Right.
in Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
but also faces a significant homeless crisis with over 7,000 people
Wow.
living without stable housing.
It's hard to believe.
And again, we see the impact of sky-high housing costs.
That makes sense.
The proximity to Silicon Valley,
Right.
with its concentration of wealth and tech jobs,
Yeah.
has driven up rents to astronomical levels,
Wow.
pushing many out of the housing market entirely.
So sad.
It's crazy to think that even in one of the most prosperous areas of the country,
I know, right?
this level of hardship
It's
exists.
really unfair.
And speaking of prosperity that doesn't reach everyone,
Mm.
let's travel to Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
Number 9 on our list.
Right.
Denver, known for its breathtaking mountain scenery,
It's beautiful.
also has a shadow side.
Oh.
Over 10,000 people are experiencing homelessness there.
Wow.
And what's particularly alarming is the high rate of homeless deaths.
That's scary.
The video mentions that in 2024, over 300 homeless people died,
Oh my goodness.
with drug overdoses being a leading cause.
That's terrible.
It's a tragic reminder of the vulnerability of those living on the streets,
For sure.
especially when compounded by issues like addiction
Right.
and lack of access to healthcare.
Absolutely.
The video also points out that Colorado is grappling with a severe housing shortage, making it even harder for people to escape homelessness.
So there's just not enough places for people to live.
This lack of affordable housing options is a recurring theme we see across many cities.
It is.
And brings us to our next stop,
Okay.
Las Vegas, Nevada.
All right.
At number 8,
Okay.
while it's known for its casinos and dazzling entertainment,
Yeah.
over 8,000 people are experiencing homelessness there.
Wow. That's a lot.
And this is where the video takes us to that shocking location.
Mm-hmm.
The storm drains beneath the city streets.
We talked about that before.
It's hard to believe that over 1,000 people are living in these tunnels,
Yeah.
facing dangers like flash floods and constant theft.
It must be terrifying.
It's a hidden reality.
Yeah.
A stark contrast to the glitz and glamour of the Las Vegas Strip.
I can only imagine.
The video features an interview with a man named Jay,
Okay.
who's been living in the tunnels for over a decade.
Wow.
He describes the conditions as horribly filthy
I bet.
and talks about how the concept of personal property has become meaningless in that environment.
That's really sad.
It's a stark reminder of the dehumanizing effects of homelessness.
It really is.
It's truly a different world down there,
It must be.
from the hidden world beneath Las Vegas.
Okay.
Let's head to Oakland, California. At number 7,
Okay.
it's a city with rich culture
Yeah.
and a vibrant art scene,
Mm.
but also a growing homeless population nearing 10,000 people.
Wow. That's a lot.
And once again, soaring housing prices are a key factor.
Right.
The video highlights the stark contrast
Yeah.
between wealthy neighborhoods with luxurious homes
Okay.
and areas of East Oakland where people are living in tents on the sidewalks.
I see.
It's another example of the income inequality that fuels this crisis.
Absolutely.
And what's interesting is that the video mentions how the presence of homeless encampments can actually make it harder to rent apartments in certain areas,
Really?
perpetuating the cycle of poverty.
Wow, that's a tough cycle to break.
It really demonstrates how homelessness isn't just an individual problem,
It's not.
but a societal one
Right.
that impacts entire communities.
That's a great point.
That's a powerful point.
It is.
Let's continue our journey to
Sure.
Chicago, Illinois,
All right.
number 6 on our list. Now, Chicago has held steady with around 6,000 people experiencing homelessness for almost 2 decades.
Wow. 2 decades.
But what's shocking is that the video shows people living right in O'Hare Airport.
Wow. In the airport.
Amidst the crowds and the hustle, you have people struggling just to survive.
Oh, no.
It's a jarring reminder
Yeah.
that homelessness can exist even in the most unexpected places.
You're right.
And to add to the complexity,
Okay.
the video highlights the fact that Chicago has millions of dollars in unspent funds
What?
earmarked for homeless relief.
That's hard to believe.
This raises serious concerns about bureaucratic inefficiencies
Yeah.
and whether resources are being allocated effectively.
That's a huge problem.
It's frustrating to think that help is available, but not reaching those who need it most.
I agree.
And speaking of a disconnect between resources and need,
Okay.
let's move on to San Jose, California,
Right.
at number 5.
Okay.
It's known as the capital of Silicon Valley. But that doesn't shield it from a significant homeless population of over 9,000 people.
Wow.
What's truly ironic is that despite having the highest concentration of billionaires in the world,
Really?
San Jose is struggling to address its growing homeless population.
That's crazy.
The tech industry boom has driven up housing costs,
Yeah.
making it nearly impossible for low-income residents to afford to live there.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's a stark illustration of how economic prosperity doesn't always trickle down to every member of a community.
So true.
And speaking of cities striving for progress, let's head up to Portland, Oregon,
Okay.
number 4 on our list.
Got it.
Portland is known for its progressive values and focus on sustainability,
Yeah, I've heard that.
but it's also facing a rapidly growing homeless population,
Really?
a 65% increase since 2015,
Oh, wow.
with over 6,000 people currently without stable housing.
That's a huge jump.
What's even more concerning
Really?
is that this surge has happened despite significant investments in affordable housing and support services.
So they're trying, but it's not enough.
The video states that Portland has spent $1.7 billion on these efforts.
Wow.
Yet the problem persists.
It's a complex issue.
It underscores the complexity of this crisis.
It really does.
There are no easy solutions,
I agree.
and even well-intentioned efforts can fall short.
Yeah.
The video also points to the prevalence of untreated mental illness
Right.
and substance abuse among the homeless population in Portland,
Of course.
adding another layer of complexity to finding effective solutions.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that addressing homelessness requires a multi-pronged approach
Makes sense.
that goes beyond just providing housing.
What else?
It also needs to encompass access to health care,
Right.
mental health services,
Yeah,
and addiction treatment.
for sure.
Speaking of cities where the need for comprehensive solutions is evident,
Okay.
let's move on to Eugene, Oregon.
All right.
At number 3,
Okay.
Eugene may not be as well known
Yeah.
as some of the other cities we've discussed, but it has one of the highest per capita homelessness rates in the country.
Wow.
Over 400 out of every 100,000 people in Eugene are experiencing homelessness.
That's shocking.
And a staggering 73% of the city's homeless population is living unsheltered,
Oh, wow.
meaning they don't have access to even basic forms of shelter, like emergency shelters or transitional housing.
I see.
It's a dire situation,
For sure.
driven by a perfect storm of challenges,
Right.
lack of affordable housing,
Right.
limited shelter capacity,
Mm-hmm.
and scarce resources for mental health and addiction treatment.
Oh, no.
Eugene's situation really underscores the importance of understanding the local context when analyzing homelessness.
Yeah,
The contributing factors can vary greatly from city to city,
absolutely.
even within the same state.
That's true.
And speaking of cities with unique challenges, let's head to Phoenix, Arizona, number 2.
All right. Yeah.
Phoenix is a popular tourist destination,
Yeah.
known for its desert landscapes and sunshine. But it's also grappling with a significant homeless population of over 9,000 people.
Wow.
The video points to a severe housing shortage as a primary driver of homelessness in Phoenix.
It's a common problem.
The city's popularity and relatively affordable cost of living have attracted many new residents,
Yeah,
but the supply of housing hasn't kept pace.
makes sense.
And on top of that, Arizona is facing a severe opioid epidemic,
Oh, no.
with fentanyl being a particularly dangerous and prevalent drug.
That's scary.
This adds another layer of complexity to the homeless crisis,
I bet.
as addiction can create immense barriers to finding stability
Yeah,
and escaping homelessness.
it's a tough cycle to break.
It's a reminder that homelessness is often intertwined with other social issues,
Of course.
such as substance abuse,
Right.
mental health challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and lack of access to health care.
Yeah,
Addressing these underlying issues is crucial to finding effective solutions.
I agree.
Absolutely. Now, for the top spot on our list,
Okay.
we arrive at Sacramento, California.
It's
Often overshadowed by its larger Californian counterparts,
like
Los Angeles and San Francisco.
right.
Sacramento is quietly facing a major homeless crisis with over 9,000 people
Wow.
living without stable housing.
I see.
And the video highlights a key factor contributing to this:
What's up?
a severe housing shortage.
That again.
Even though Sacramento is considered more affordable than some other Californian cities,
Okay.
the lack of available housing options makes it incredibly difficult for people to find safe and stable places to live.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a clear reminder that homelessness is not just a big city problem.
No, it's not.
It affects communities of all sizes and income levels,
It does.
emphasizing the need for nationwide solutions.
For sure.
But before we dive into those potential solutions,
Okay.
let's take a closer look at some of the key vocabulary and phrases
Right.
that help us understand and discuss this complex issue.
That sounds good. So we've just journeyed through 15 cities, each revealing a different aspect of this homelessness crisis in America. Yeah.
But amidst these diverse stories and statistics, there are some common threads,
Right.
key terms that help us understand and discuss this complex issue.
It's like having the right tools for the job.
Yeah, exactly.
If we're going to talk about homelessness effectively, we need the right vocabulary.
Absolutely.
So let's unpack some of these key terms,
Okay,
starting with one we've heard a lot.
a lot.
Affordable housing.
Right. Affordable housing.
It seems straightforward,
It does.
but it's at the heart of the problem.
Absolutely.
Affordable housing refers to housing that people with low or moderate incomes can actually afford to rent or buy.
Right.
And as we've seen, the lack of it is a major driver of homelessness in many cities.
Huge driver.
It's like a domino effect.
How so?
When housing costs rise faster than wages,
Right.
it pushes people out of the market.
Yeah.
And for those already struggling,
Yeah.
it can be the tipping point into homelessness.
Absolutely. That makes sense.
And that leads us to another crucial term:
Okay, what's that?
housing shortage.
Right. Housing shortage.
It's not just about affordability.
It's not.
It's about supply and demand.
Supply and demand.
A housing shortage means there simply aren't enough housing units available,
Right.
especially for those with lower incomes.
Makes sense.
We saw this in Denver and Sacramento,
Yeah.
where even though housing may be relatively cheaper than in places like San Francisco, the lack of available units drives up competition and prices,
Right.
leaving many people with nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's a tough situation.
And then there's the term
Okay.
unsheltered,
Unsheltered.
which describes the most visible and vulnerable face of homelessness.
Yeah.
These are people living without any form of shelter, sleeping on streets, in parks, or abandoned buildings.
I see.
Tracy in San Diego constantly moving her tent to avoid city cleanups.
Right.
She's a stark example of someone living unsheltered.
Yeah, she is.
It's a constant struggle for basic safety and dignity.
Absolutely.
And remember Kara in Seattle.
Living in the jungle.
Right.
That makeshift encampment under the highway,
Yeah, I remember.
that highlights another important term:
Okay.
makeshift,
Right. Makeshift.
meaning something created as a temporary solution,
Yeah.
often using whatever's available.
Right out of necessity.
It speaks to the incredible resourcefulness of people facing such dire circumstances.
Yeah, they have to be resourceful.
But it's also a sad reflection of the lack of adequate support.
Yeah, for sure.
And sadly for some, homelessness becomes a long-term reality.
Right.
What's known as chronic homelessness.
Chronic homelessness. Okay.
Chronic homelessness
Mhm.
usually refers to those who have experienced homelessness for a year or more,
Okay.
often facing additional challenges like mental illness or substance abuse disorders.
Right. So it's not just about housing.
It's a heartbreaking situation,
It is.
and it requires a much more comprehensive approach,
Yeah.
addressing not just housing, but also healthcare, mental health services, and addiction treatment. And remember that word overwhelmed.
Yeah, overwhelmed.
Used to describe systems that are buckling under pressure.
Right, like they just can't handle it.
We saw that in New York City,
Yeah.
where the sheer number of people seeking shelter is overwhelming the system's capacity.
It was just too much.
It highlights the desperate need for increased resources and support
Yeah.
for organizations working on the front lines of this crisis.
Absolutely. They need more help.
And speaking of support, we can't forget the crucial role of the social safety net.
The social safety net. Okay.
The social safety net refers to those government programs and services
Yeah.
designed to protect vulnerable populations from poverty and hardship.
Right.
Things like food assistance,
Okay.
healthcare and employment benefits, and housing subsidies.
I see.
A strong social safety net can be a lifeline,
It can.
preventing people from falling into homelessness in the first place.
Yeah, that's the goal.
But sadly, many still slip through the cracks,
They do.
often facing eviction. The legal process of being removed from a rental property,
Right.
usually for not paying rent,
I understand.
eviction, can be devastating,
It can.
pushing people further into instability
Yeah.
and making it even harder to find housing.
It's a downward spiral.
And sadly, this is often compounded by income inequality,
Income inequality.
a gap between the rich and the poor.
Right. The haves and the have-nots.
We've seen in city after city how extreme wealth can exist alongside extreme poverty.
Yeah, it's shocking.
And this growing gap only exacerbates the problem.
It makes everything worse.
It's crucial to recognize that behind the statistics are real people,
Yes, absolutely.
each with a unique story and a set of challenges.
Every person has their own story.
Absolutely.
And,
We can't forget the human impact of homelessness.
we can't.
It's not just about numbers.
No.
It's about individual lives.
Exactly. We have to remember that.
And when we talk about those individuals,
Yeah,
we need to be mindful of the language we use.
that's a good point.
Right.
So how should we talk about it?
It's crucial to use person-first language,
Person-first language. Okay.
focusing on the person rather than their housing status.
I see.
For example, instead of saying the homeless,
Yeah,
we should say people experiencing homelessness.
right. Put the person first.
It's a subtle but important shift,
It is.
acknowledging their humanity
Mm.
first and foremost.
Yeah, that's important.
And it's equally important to avoid dehumanizing or stigmatizing terms.
Like what?
Words like vagrants or transients
Right. Those are not good words.
perpetuate negative stereotypes
They do.
and do nothing to foster understanding or compassion.
We need to use better language.
Instead, let's strive for language that's respectful,
Yeah.
accurate,
Mm-hmm.
and reflects the complex realities of this issue.
Absolutely.
Language that promotes understanding and empathy
Right.
and ultimately leads us towards solutions.
I like that.
Because ultimately, we're not just trying to define homelessness.
No, we're
We're not
not.
trying to solve it.
We are.
So now that we've equipped ourselves with the vocabulary,
Yeah.
let's shift our focus to action.
Okay, let's do it.
What can we as individuals actually do to make a difference in our own communities?
That's the big question.
It can feel overwhelming, to think about tackling such a massive problem
Yeah.
like homelessness.
It's easy to just feel like, what can I do?
Yeah.
It's such a big problem. It's
Yeah.
so widespread. It's easy to feel powerless.
I think it's important to remember
Yeah,
that even small actions can ripple outwards and create change.
absolutely. Every little bit counts for sure. So what can we do?
What can we do?
What are some of those small actions?
Well, for those who want to get directly involved,
Okay.
volunteering at local shelters
Yeah.
or organizations that serve people experiencing homelessness
Mm-hmm.
is a fantastic way to start.
Great way to start.
You could offer your time and skills
Yeah.
to help with things like meal preparation, clothing distribution,
Mhm.
or simply lending a listening ear.
Right. Just being there for someone.
And even small acts of kindness can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Imagine encountering someone living on the street,
Yeah.
offering them a warm meal,
Mm-hmm.
a bottle of water,
Right.
or even just a friendly conversation
Just acknowledging them as a person.
can brighten their day
It can.
and remind them that they're not invisible.
Absolutely. Sometimes that human connection is all it takes.
Sometimes just acknowledging someone's humanity can be the most meaningful gesture of all.
It really can.
And of course, financial donations to organizations working on the front lines are always crucial.
Of course, got to keep those organizations going.
Even a small contribution can help provide essential resources
Right.
like food shelter and medical care.
The things that people really need.
And for those who want to create systemic change,
Yeah.
We can't forget the power of advocacy,
Advocacy, okay.
contacting your elected officials
Right.
and urging them to prioritize policies that address the root causes of homelessness,
Yeah, get to the root of the problem.
like affordable housing initiatives, mental health services, and addiction treatment programs,
Those are all key.
can truly make a difference.
It's about changing the system.
We can be the voices for those who are often unheard,
Yeah, we can speak up for them.
amplifying their needs and pushing for change.
Use our voices to make a difference.
And on a personal level, we can educate ourselves about the issue,
Yeah, learn more.
challenge our own biases and misconceptions,
Right.
and start conversations with our friends and family.
Just talk about it, bring it up.
Exactly. Breaking down stereotypes and fostering understanding within our own circles can have a ripple effect.
It can spread outwards.
Knowledge is power.
It is.
And the more we learn about homelessness,
Yeah,
the more equipped we are to be part of this solution.
absolutely. We can all be part of the solution.
This deep dive has certainly been an eye-opener for me.
It has for me too.
It showed me how much I still need to learn
Me too.
and how important it is to move beyond awareness and into action.
Yeah, we got to do something.
What about you?
Well, it's been a powerful reminder that behind the statistics are real people
Yeah.
with their own unique stories and struggles.
It's about people.
Yeah.
And it's also reinforced the importance of using our voices and our actions to advocate for a more just and compassionate society.
We need more compassion in the world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive
Okay.
into the homelessness crisis in America,
Right.
I think it's essential to remember
Yeah.
that this isn't someone else's problem.
No, it's not.
It's a collective challenge
It is.
that demands a collective response
We need to work together.
by working together
Yes.
with empathy, understanding, and a commitment to action.
Those are the key ingredients.
We can create a future where everyone has a safe and stable place to call home.
What a beautiful thought.
What a powerful thought to end on.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It was my pleasure.
Don't forget to subscribe to Learn and Talk English, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for our next deep dive. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.